Would you like to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Speakeasy and master connector Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on this planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond, and today on Thrive Loud, we have an entrepreneur in podcast technology and socially impactful media. I already love this guy right out of the gate. He is the CEO of Picked Cherries, which provides a shared listening experience for podcast listeners everywhere. So everyone listening to this podcast, this is something that I think you're going to learn about, a really cool platform and technology that I think you're going to be utilizing from now on in all your future podcasts. Thrive Loud listeners, I bring you Stuart Goffman. Stu, welcome to Thrive Loud.
Thank you, and thank you for the great introduction.
I try to do the best introduction I can. People have copied it from this podcast and played it as their opening as they've gone to stages or events, and I still haven't capitalized on the royalties on that yet. But one day I'll work on it, Stu.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same.
We're going to give a shout out to David Kramer, who connected us and introduced us, who is a much better athlete and pickleball player than I am. I know he'll want to hear that, and now that it's on the airwaves, he'll feel very good. So here's what I want to do, Stu. I want to do a little bit of a rewind. I don't want to go all the way back to the womb. I kind of want to understand in your entrepreneurial journey how this world that you're in now and Picked Cherries has all come to be.
Absolutely. So, I'm a big podcast listener. And during the pandemic, I would listen to a podcast. I would go to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning alone. And I would listen to a podcast and I hear something that I want to share with my friends. So I would text them and say, hey, listen, download this podcast, go to this episode and go to 1 hour, 32 minutes and 30 seconds. And they will talk about, growing up in New Jersey.
Right.
And then I would text my friends and then I would call them during the day. And they said, I would ask, do you listen? And no one ever did this ever. So that is the genesis for Picked Cherries. It's, picking a cherry is the best of the best. So, and especially with diminished attention that everybody has right now, a Picked Cherry is 60 seconds of your favorite clip of your podcast. So it's really easy to share with your friends and is really good to, so it really makes a isolating activity, listening to a podcast, shared event or a shared experience, which, as you know, everybody, you can watch a movie at home and laugh. But when you go to the movies and everybody's laughing, it's a shared experience, and that's even better.
Love it. So this is, by the way, we will say this, and all the listeners are going, oh my God, where was this, and how did I not know this if they don't know about it? Because this is the truth. Several years ago, when we would promote this show on the podcast, we would try to cherry pick certain components of the podcast that we want to feature in social and whatnot. But to your point, that is the real value. Like, not everyone is a podcast listener, naturally listens to lots of shows. And sometimes these shows can be 30 minutes, 50 minutes, maybe even longer. So picking out that cherry and being able to do that is spectacular. So I want to get a little into the nooks and crannies of this. Okay, so let's say this amazing episode airs and we want to explain what Picked Cherries is a couple of 60 seconds ago, if you would. How does it all work, and how does somebody access and figure out how to pick the cherries?
Well, absolutely. And it's on iOS and Android, but it's one thing for you. The the podcaster to, pick some cherries and send it on social media or your friends or your email blast.
Right.
It's a different thing for your listeners to hear what they hear and resonates with them, and then they can send it to their friends, and their friends can send it to their friends. So it's basically the same principle as TikTok. And
Yeah.
I always say it's the TikTok of podcast sharing with friends. So you think, for your podcast, you think that this is the great clip or the perfect cherry, but maybe someone else, one of your listeners or a bunch of your listeners, uh, something else resonates with them.
Mm.
Again, it's really, really easy. I'm not a a tech guy per se. So it is really easy to listen, and within 2 seconds, you can make a pick cherry, and you can either share it with your friends, whether it's TikTok, excuse me, whether it's text or WhatsApp or email, or you can post it to your favorite social channel.
I love it. And to our listeners out here, I mean, I joke about this. Most people would be like, "Listen, how do we skip all of the loop parts and just get the guest part on the show?" Because I'm familiar. That's the reason most people tune in. But I do love the social aspect of it, because you hit something that I think is really important. Sifting through content, it doesn't matter what it is always really challenging. Our attention spans have diminished, and there are so many programs out there today. There's so much content that the truth is, what we really want is, hey, I heard this really good thing on this piece, and this is the spot that it's in. To your point, no one's going to go specifically, but if you pick the cherry and have other people try it, it could have a viral effect, not only on listening, but also in awareness of, someone, great content, great lessons. It's like bringing people together on something that's really cool. I want to ask this question. This is the entrepreneurial side. Now let's flip it to you being the business person. You come up with the idea, being able to deploy it and literally find the right people, the organization, the system to do this is challenge one. And then challenge two is awareness and all of that stuff. Talk to me about the journey that you've had helping to put Picked Cherries together. Because, by the way, love it, and I totally get the value that not only just podcasters would have, but so many other marketers could also take advantage of this as well.
As you know, as a entrepreneur, it's really great when you start. Everybody's on board, but the grind is real.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot of planning. I reached out to people that I know that are podcasters when we first started. I wanted to be, I know that Pick Cherries has value as a listener, but I want to know from a podcast perspective, is this something that they would go to? So I called up my friend Kim, and she's a podcaster, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is what I'm looking for," just like you said. So, and you put together some money people, some technology people, so in this case, podcast people, and you put everybody together, and everybody does their part. And as you know, 2022, most of 2023 was difficult for tech companies.
Yeah.
But over the past like 3 or 4 months, I could see the sun shining through, and all of a sudden we're getting enormous momentum, and a lot of people are really banging our doors. We are raising money right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have some, and that's the it's very complicated. We made this technology. We created this technology, and we're getting patents, and the lawyer says, "Hey, you need to be under the radar until you get." And I think it took like over a year. So we're under the radar for a year, and it's very difficult. Like we want to shout from the hilltops, pick cherries, but you can't, and you have to be very disciplined with that as well.
It's so true, right? You have to build up momentum, and you want to tell everyone about it, but you have to keep it in this smart growth, and also for all the rules to do it. It's so frustrating, right? It's got to be.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's the you have to adapt to the market environment. You have to adapt to the, I guess, legal environment.
Yeah.
So you have to be flexible, and you just pick your holes.
So what I do whenever I'm on this program and I'm talking to amazing entrepreneurs like yourself who come up with incredible ideas and businesses, the first thing I'm thinking is, who can I connect this person to help them grow? And all I keep thinking about is one of the biggest growing areas that this actually is going to be valuable, and that isn't public podcast. There's a lot of companies that are actually creating private podcasts and internal messages, content around there that is like, CEO messages, sales teams, and they're doing it for educational purposes. It's stuff like that people are like, hey, you need to hear about this particular detail in the company. Imagine being able to pick cherries off of that. What a cool thing. I can't wait. I'm already
that is one of the future avenues of growth. You're right. We were talking to someone at Dell. They have 144,000 employees. And so, it's very important for a big company to be in constant contact with their employees, and also whether it's a sales strategy, whether it's information on your products. There's a lot of things, like even like a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
A sales manager should say, hey, if you're going to see a dermatologist, listen to these 5 cherries before you go in. If
Yeah.
you're going to a physician, listen to these. So there's a lot of applications, even with some branded podcasts for a B.
Definitely. Oh, wait. We had technical difficulties there. You back here? We got you, Stu?
I'm here.
There we go. Okay. By the way, listeners need to know, if you hear some buzzing in the background, both Stu and I are in warm weathered climates, and they're chopping down trees on my house, and they're doing some kind of buzzing outside his. Just be jealous if it's wintertime, and Phil, you should come to the warm weather. Anyway.
Exactly.
So Stu, I love asking entrepreneurs this question because it takes a certain type of person to manage starting something new, taking an idea to go through it. And one of the things we love to do on Thrive Loud is decode that. And I love asking leaders like yourself, on most days, you're pushing forward, you're optimistic, you're keeping things going, you are thriving, which is why you're here on the show. But we do have those days when we're a little off our game, or the road is a little bumpy than we need to, and we're not quite kicking on all cylinders. When Stu Goffman needs to get back onto his game, is there a practice you seek or an individual you seek out to help you get back on track?
It's interesting. So I go to the gym every morning, regardless. And I do my walking. I try to be consistent. So, whether you think Picked Cherries is great or not, I need to be consistent. So when I'm talking to, people like you, it's a consistent message. And yeah, I mean, as a entrepreneur, you get downs, you get ups, but you really need to manage your emotions to continue to, be steady.
Yeah. It's one of the key things is, how do we keep that pace all along, right? Because it's a marathon, not a sprint, as you know so well.
Yeah, it's very, it's not really lonely at the top. It's really lonely on the bottom.
Yeah.
And, it's, so, you just need to have a long-term perspective. and maybe tomorrow is not going to be a great day, but I know, that on Monday or Tuesday, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah.
So you just need to get from, Saturday to Monday.
Stu, I want to do the admin part of the show here and get it out of the way because we're going to have an extended version of Fun Street here because Stu and I have a lot in common when you hear some of the things that he likes. Share with the listeners where people can go to learn about Picked Cherries from a different perspective. Obviously, from any listener here that wants to do it, where they can download the apps, all that stuff. We will put it on the show notes, but it always gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Absolutely. So it's we have the website. It's pickcherries.com, and you could also download the app on iOS, Android, and it's a really interesting. So I can send it to you, a Picked Cherry to you, and whether you have Picked Cherries or not, you can listen to it, and actually you can share it with your friends, and your friends can share it with their friends. So it's really good for whether you have Picked Cherries. Obviously, we want everybody to download the app, but you could also go to pickcherries.com and you can learn more about us and download the app. I don't know if they're going to raise the building or whatever, but they're
There's a lot. By the way, this is not the worst. We between the dogs that have been on podcasts and obviously machines. But one of my favorite side note, we interviewed somebody from northern parts of Canada, and there must have been some massive snowblower or something that was outside, and literally in the background you could see the snow shooting out of the machine, but the volume on this thing was Mach 2. We had some editing challenges. This is nothing. The listeners aren't even going to hear the buzzes that you and I hear. So we got that, and social handles as well. We will put all those links and all the different places.
And what we're look for, we're on all the social channels. And it's Picked Cherries.
Yep. So listeners, what we're going to do is we're going to not only promote this particular episode, but we're going to do a Picked Cherries from one of the pieces over here. We're going to figure out which spot that is, and we'll try and send it out. I'm going to do it personally and send it out, and we'll try and see who we could spread the word to just to see how effective the Thrive Loud Picked Cherries can be. Maybe I might get a whole bunch of new listeners.
It's really interesting. So one of my favorite podcasts is Huberman Lab.
Yeah,
and he's like the Joe Rogan for health and wellness.
Right.
And I saw like everybody was sick, like probably 2 weeks ago, and I saw a episode how to prevent a cold and flu. So I made a Picked Cherry and I sent it to like 3 people, and all of a sudden it's like I think it was like 30 or 35 listens on the Picked Cherry.
Wow, that's nice. That's good. See, this is, I get it.
That's why we started it.
Yeah, no, I think it's also brilliant. And I think that the funny thing is you're colliding with the biggest thing out there is, and I learned this from this program. We've been doing this now for 7.5 years on Thrive Loud, almost 1,000 episodes. Not everyone is a podcast listener. Some people like to view it. Some people like to watch our sizzle reels. Some people like to do this. But the ability to get that little dabble of information, that one piece that's really cool, I think is very powerful. And that's why I'm on board. I'm on Picked Cherries board. I'm going to get some Picked Cherries around here. I'm just going to start putting them around.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go down Fun Street here with Stu. Stu, we're going to have a blast here because either Stu and I we're in the same class or born together because we have so many things in common. Can you share with the listeners what are some of your all-time favorite movies that you shared with me?
Sure. It has to be Fletch and Caddyshack,
Yeah.
and Vacation. And and I love monster movies, but I love to laugh as well.
So we talked about this once when someone had mentioned Fletch. Obviously, the overlap on all of that is Chevy Chase, who has this incredibly sarcastic, wise-ass component. But in all of these roles, he has unique abilities of who he is. He is different in each one of them. And from a comedy perspective, his physical timing was just awesome. But Fletch is probably when that movie came out, probably for another 6 years thereafter, me and my closest friends, that's all we ever did was quote everybody. And just for the record, this entire, I'm meeting Stu for lunch in a few weeks, and we're going to meet each other, the whole thing is going to be charged to the Underhills. Just want to.
Oh yeah, exactly, exactly. It's that's what 40 years later,
almost 40, yeah.
And my friends still quote I get a text once a week about Fletch,
right?
And obviously anytime it's on TV, you have to stop whatever you're doing and watch it.
Yeah, it's so good. So here we go. We're going to do the speed round, Stu. I'm going to ask you questions. These are things that lift you up, motivate you. First thing that comes to your mind is what we're looking for. Most of these things make you thrive. You ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely.
Okay. Of late, a song that you love to listen to, or maybe one that pumps you up.
I would say Hotel California.
Nice.
I'm the 70s. That's my era.
Love it. A favorite food that is not a dessert.
I love steak.
Favorite dessert.
Apple pie.
An activity you wish you did more of.
I would say I used to take karate, and now I'm an old guy, so I don't really do that anymore, but I used to love it.
Oh, gotcha. I like that. Go back to the old karate days. An activity you wish you did less of.
TV. I'm trying to. I rarely. I love sports. That's it.
A new activity that you've recently tried that you like so much you want to tell everybody else to try.
I really work. That's it, man.
There are no other activities.
I don't play golf. I don't have really. I don't have hobbies.
I'm gonna answer it. The new activity that everybody needs to try is Picked Cherries. They all need to try it. That's where they need to go check it out. If I were to snap my fingers and Stu Goffman could be anywhere in the world, where is he?
Right here. I'm in South Florida, and this is paradise, and I couldn't imagine living anywhere else.
Gotcha. And I hear you, and I feel you at the same time.
Yeah.
Stu Goffman, Picked Cherries. Everybody check it out. We'll pick a couple of cherries from this episode, and you should too. Go send it out. Great to have you on the program. Thanks for being here, and good luck with everything. This is a cool thing. I think more and more people are going to get an understanding of how they could utilize this platform, and good success to you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Thank you so much.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us, and until next time, keep moving onward and upward, and remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.